texting face ass.
Hi, I'm Kether Griffin, and this is my persuasive speech, The Poop Problem. With all the crap that's filling the world, at least there are a few things that can sort it out. One is modern-day plumbing and toilets in general. And you could also talk about the bidet, the latrine, or the urinal. One of our most overlooked conveniences in our daily lives is the use of modern-day plumbing, or toilets in general. We often go to the bathroom without even thinking, like, this is so easy. Or like, we can just do this like with such ease. A lot of people have to dig holes or poop where they can, such as bushes or trees or rivers or lakes or things of that nature. Those unlucky enough to have no plumbing can suffer from a number of problems, such as waterborne illnesses, a lack of fresh water, and even death. Where it began. As long as animals have roamed the earth, fecal matter has been an issue. Humans constantly created new innovations, as I said earlier, like the bidet, which actually squirts water on the buttocks and removes fecal matter, and regular toilets, which just remove fecal matter from the immediate premises. It doesn't actually get rid of the poop. A lot of people forget that when it goes into the plumbing system, it goes, to another place. It's not just like, oh, the poop is gone, it's no more issues, yay. There are also a number of other things, such as the urinal, which really just has to do with pee and urine, or pee, which is urine. Yearly, a lack of sanitation kills about 1.4 million children. Depending on where you are, a lack of sanitation can be a serious issue. It's a serious issue no matter where it is, but it's less prevalent in third world countries, or developed countries, and it's more prevalent in developing countries. Nearly 2.6 billion people don't have access to good plumbing or sanitation whatsoever, so they have to resort to open defecation, which is pooping and, again, like digging a hole or pooping just anywhere that you can, which is a really big issue because it can have an effect on groundwater supplies. For many in these third world countries, having a toilet isn't a necessity but a privilege. Many of the people in these circumstances don't understand the need for sanitation. They will poop places and in like fresh water body areas without understanding that it will kill fish or could possibly give the next child who drinks the water dysentery or some other kind of disease such as malaria. So how can one solve the issue of the impending diarrheal doom? Well, even in America, there are 1.6 million people without indoor plumbing. That's only about 0.5% of the population, but it's still a huge number, and it's still an issue because diseases like hepatitis and typhoid and malaria and dysentery can be transmitted even here. In developed nations, we don't have it all figured out. Even though we have sanitation systems, they aren't really the best. They don't necessarily treat water or get rid of the contaminated sewage. A lot of times the contaminated sewage is just spilled out or is gotten rid of because of a large increase in the amount of water that's in the system based on like rain or floods or anything like that. One thing that could solve this problem is universal plumbing. Much like universal health care, we need everyone to be able to poop whenever they need to in the right places. And I can understand how it can seem like a joking matter to some, but it can honestly have a serious impact on a nation's productivity, overall health, and mortality rates. More specifically, the world is plagued by a lack of toilets, but more specifically no public plumbing for those toilets. Decrease in mortality rate can be reached in developing countries if people were all able to have access to a larger amount of plumbing. And the public's attention must be brought to this because a lot of them don't understand that it's a huge issue and that it can be so devastating to their communities and have such a large impact on the people. The United Nations actually tried to have half the amount of people that didn't have access to clean sanitation in 2000, and they were going to do it by 2015. But once we got to this year, they had realized that they failed to reach their mark. So it's kind of up to us to try and figure out like how we're gonna make the world not full of poo. It's not a sexy thing to talk about. No one's like, oh, I want to go on a political tangent about poop and like how you should sanitize your bathrooms and like clean up poop in your area because we don't want the groundwater supplies polluted. Nobody wants to hear that. Everyone wants to hear about how they're going to make money in a business and how their kids are going to eat the next day, but they don't really care about where the poop goes. It's an issue that very much needs to be dealt with, and we need to increase like initiatives to going forward to try and get rid of these huge amounts of crap. Overall, the productivity among people is increased for every $1 extra that's put into sanitation. $9 is there's a $9 increase in productivity among those people. A lack of plumbing creates too many problems for it to not be an issue. Having a hand in global warming, famine, a lack of fresh water sources, and decrease in education, a lack of sanitation is possibly one of the biggest issues that we've come into contact with this year. Or not this year, our entire lives, I suppose. We've been kind of putting it off for a while. There were about 194 million kids in Africa that didn't go to school literally just because they couldn't poop at school or didn't have access to sanitation at school. So when poop starts keeping kids out of school, we know it's an issue. And I thank you for listening to my persuasive speech. Oh, how many seconds was it?